So what we do at LeanDog, we do two things. We have about 70 people. We design and build software on the boat, robotics, embedded systems, mobile stuff. And then we travel around the country speaking at conferences and helping people change their corporate culture to be more lean and agile. When we go in and help people, we usually help the whole culture, not just the IT teams. So it's a whole business changing to that culture. Today, what we're going to talk about is leadership. Okay, so how do we get executives or people leading teams? What things can you guys do today to kind of create a more transparent, open, honest culture? The best analogy I have for Agile, for people who know what Agile Lean is, it's a set of values and principles, but in a big way what we're doing is we're taking people back to kindergarten. Right? When you went to kindergarten, you walked in and everybody was innocent, right? Most, right? And everybody sat in a big open workspace. All their homework was up on the wall, right? They had learning time, they had quiet time, they got to school on time, they went home on time, and they had recess, okay? And that's about the closest to what I could say we're doing with Agile Lean. We're trying to take companies back to that so we can tear down their cubicles, their sensory deprivation chambers, right? Their whole being a silo and only working in one skill. That's not what humans are good at. Humans enjoy going lateral, not just vertical. And so we really try to teach people how to do that. So whether it's in IT, marketing, whatever it is, high-performing teams, the most fun most people had was in kindergarten, right? And so we need to kind of get back to that where we're just one big team, valuing the diversity that's in the room, okay? So when I started LeanDog in 2008, I started doing a talk called Agile from the Top Down, and over the years it's changed into a practice because as I was trying to practice what I preach in running our company this way, companies came in and said, oh, that's awesome, can you teach us how to do that? So it wasn't by intention that we do this. So the goal of this talk really is to show you how we run LeanDog and all the things that we do that are working for us, and then hopefully you'll get something out of that and you can take it back and try it. But most of it is like kindergarten. It really is stupid simple, right? And that's why it works, okay? So the first thing that people have to understand is that anytime you're going to change something, so however your team's performing today or you're leading today, if you're going to change something in any culture, and when I was doing this for a very large company and I surrounded myself by people in psychology, sociology, human resources, you name it, right? Just a very eclectic group of people that knew way more than computer science and said, hey, how can we actually create a really high-performing organization? And so this is some of the stuff I learned. The sociologists taught me that, how many people have heard of Rogers adoption curve? Is that, I assumed in marketing that's like a big thing. But anyways, anytime you're trying to get somebody to do something new, even if it's not new, but it's new to them, in any culture, you're going to have a certain percentage of the people who are innovators, about 2.5%, early adopters, early majority, late majority. So a lot of companies we go into, and they're like, wow, I need you to help me change 5,000, 20,000, 50,000 people to work in this way. And they get overwhelmed with the size of the elephant. They're like, oh, where do we start? Well, reality is, let's start with the people who are innovators, the change agents in your company, the thought leaders. Then let's work with the early adopters and then the early majority. Once we get about 20% of the organization changed, everybody will start copying the good things that work. So you don't have to change everybody, but you have to get all of those good people up front leading the change, okay? So think about, in your organization, who are the people, if you had to put their names up here and put them in a quadrant, where would you put them, right? And you can read more about that. But so often when we start trying to introduce new things, we often refer to this curve. Any human who's going to do something new kind of goes through these stages, right? First, they have to be aware of what's new. Then they have to consider it. Then they have to investigate it. Then they have to pilot it. Then they adopt a new way of working, right? And then they adapt it. So we really like to tweak it a little bit so we can call it our own. It's just human tendency. Like you don't own it until you've changed it. So anytime you learn something new, you always tweak it. And once you adapt it, then it's kind of stuck in your culture. So a lot of these practices I'm going to talk to you about, you'd have to take your team through this curve of learning. This is probably one of the most key concepts to go in Agile. It's called information radiators. It came from a methodology called Crystal. But humans, it's really easy for us. Everybody wants to make everybody happy. So it's really easy to look at you and say, yeah, you on the same page with me? Yes. Right? And we think we are. But reality is, and you guys probably know this better than I do, humans are very visual people. Right? Visual interpretation is the fastest form of interpretation. So if we take what we think we have in our head and we make it physical and put it on the wall, now we can talk about if we're really on the same page. Okay? Now we realize we aren't, so now we can converge, right, and make sure that we're moving forward. And so we use information radiators like crazy. If you come to our boat, almost every window on the boat, it's a 10,000 square foot boat. Almost every boat is covered with paper, Post-it notes, brown paper, painter's tape, yarn, ribbon, kindergarten, okay? Because we don't use tools and software, even though we build software. We don't use that to control how we work, right? How we can visually interpret something and put it on the wall is the key. So a big thing of a lot of what we do when people come in, they say, hey, can you help us create a high performing team? I'm kind of like, well, what the hell do you guys do, right? Like, I can't change what I don't know, right? So we come in and we say, hey, let's start putting some walls up. We buy brown paper, we paper every single wall, and we say, okay, these are some of the walls we create, you know. Who are you? What do you do? Where are your customers? What are the personas of your customers? What are your products? How are you organizationally structured? What are the technical applications you work in? You know, what vocabulary you use to talk about your value stream or how you do your work? What departments do you have? You know, how do you measure performance? How do you measure business results? How do you run financials? How much money you have in a bank account? Right? Anything. Everything that you think you manage is in the system. And to create a high-performing team, people have to know how they fit in the system. Okay? Because I don't mind changing positions in the system if I understand why. Right? So as a leader, that's the most confusing thing. It's like, oh, these leaders are just changing what they want all the time. No, they're actually trying to understand the whole system, and they're tuning all these different parts of the systems trying to get a high-value business to run. Okay, but it's not clear because we haven't made information radiators. So we'll go into a company, spend a couple of weeks, as an example. We create a backlog of, hey, what are all the things we can visualize? Visualize your hardest problems first, right? So, for example, often that's work. Often 99% of the companies we go to have way too much work in progress, right? Is there anybody here underworked, right? Right? So we go in and we say, hey, let's start with your work wall. What are all the projects in flight? We kind of model all that out. And we break up into teams, and we partner with the leadership teams to create these walls.